Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope your Saturday is off to a great start. And if it is, I'm going to try not to do anything to detract from that great start. In fact, I'm going to try to improve upon it because when we get into the Word, it gets us a little inspiration, it gets us a little motivation, it gets us a little better information to be able to live out the rest of our Saturday, the rest of our weekend. So that's what that's what we're going to do today. That's what we're getting focused on and ready to do. I've got my official Seaport coffee with me this morning so that we can be extra fueled today because there's some extra good passages that we're going to be looking at, and the rest of the day is just going to be delightful. Man, it's like 60 degrees outside. It's just wonderful. There's going to be some fence building. So I'm glad for the cool weather. I'm glad that it's not raining right now. I'm glad that it's not 100 degrees. So the fence is going to be going up, but the coffee has to be drank first. And while the coffee is being drank, we might as well get together for the scriptures. So, Carlene, hey, give Alton a big fist bump from me. Good to see you. Taya, good afternoon in Russia. I hope everything is going well for you. Hope you're enjoying a beautiful, beautiful afternoon. Jan, good morning. Hope everything's been great for you. Hope your cup is full to the brim of deliciousness. Chelsea, how in the world are you doing, man? We enjoy keeping up with y'all. God bless you. Good to catch you on here this morning. Mickey, hope everything's good in Florida. Miss you. Think about you often, sister. Brenda, hey, I'm going to be improving property values all over the neighborhood this morning. I'm going to build a possum-proof fence. It's going to be so wonderful. All the possums are going to stay on y'all's side of the neighborhood. So we'll see how that goes. Janet, good morning. It's good to see you. God bless you this morning, Janet. Big fist bump to you. And Don, good morning, brother. How are things going? Big fist bump, Don. Glad you're in here. Um, Barbara, good to see you. Would you give Ken a good fist bump from me? And check it out. Katie, hey, tomorrow's a big day. Tomorrow's a big, big day because we're going to dedicate Emmy to the Lord tomorrow. That's going to be one of the highlights of the service. Actually, tomorrow has the service has two highlights. We have Emmy's baby dedication, and Brother Adam is preaching. So everybody come out, listen to Brother Adam, and Brother Adam has a baptism to start off the service. So a baptism, a couple songs, a very special and very long anticipated parent child dedication, and then just a great morning. It's just going to be a great morning. Leslie, I hope everything's going well in your neck of the woods. Good to see you. God bless you this morning. Joyce, Joyce, I tell you what, I'll be praying for you. But I know you and I both are praying for Carolyn. God bless her, and God bless uh, all that you're going to go through Monday. But I'm in your corner, sister. God bless you, Teresa. Hey, I hope you and Wayne are enjoying this beautiful beautiful weather. This is my kind of day. And Vance, good morning to you, brother. Hope everything is going well with you, my friend. Um, it's going to be awesome today. Now, listen, we've been in John chapter 11 for I don't know. This is we were in there Tuesday morning at 7, Thursday evening at 7, and now Saturday morning. We find ourselves in kind of the part 3. We find ourselves in the part 3. The story just really follows an awesome plot trajectory. Jesus being away from Bethany where Lazarus lived, found out that Lazarus was sick, was called to Lazarus's bedside, but Jesus didn't go. Lazarus perished. That's part 1. Part 2 was Jesus comes to Bethany, and both of Lazarus's sisters come to Jesus, and their complaint was, if you'd only been here, my brother would still be alive. Well, Jesus, he tarried, he remained where he was on purpose so that they might learn something about the power and about the glory of God. And that wasn't going to be possible if he just came and said, Lazarus, I hope you're fever is removed and Lazarus is made well, and everything goes on as normal because Jesus has done all this kind of stuff. This that he's about to do is categorically different. Okay, and those that get to see it are amazed. There's a difference between those that see it and those that only hear about it later. Okay. That's why it's so important for us to stay close to Christ, close to Jesus, to observe with our eyes and our hearts all that God is doing amongst us so that our faith might grow. And because even when we try to communicate that faith or that experience or that miracle we witnessed, it might not fall on receptive ears, but at least our faith is established, our conviction grows, and the Lord does something, if not with everybody, with us. But Jesus has already talked to Martha and Mary, the sisters of Lazarus. And I'm going to start in verse 38. Not going to go through the whole chapter, but just through the important parts that are connected to this specific story. Okay, in verse 38, Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. All right. In our part of the world, in Texas, when someone perishes, we dig a hole. We don't have a lot of mountains. We don't have hills. But in Judea, I mean, there's more ground that is more vertical, or at least at a 45-degree angle, than there is flat ground. I mean, it is mountainous. It is hill country. It is jagged, rugged country. And it's mostly all rock. You don't dig anything down so much without great effort. It's much easier to chisel into a mountainside. And so they had carved a cave where Lazarus was laid. There was a cave that was carved. They carved a cave. They quarried a stone that could be rolled across the entrance. This was common. In fact, there are centuries of history and archaeology that show the kind of dignity that was given to those who were deceased in Palestine in the ancient Near East. These graves would be dug. Some of them could be massive grave complexes. Someone would perish. A family would either own or rent a spot, and their loved one would be laid out in a cave, and they would come back maybe a year, 2, 3 years later. They would collect the bones, and they would put the bones in an ossuary, a stone box that they would take and put somewhere else, maybe perhaps in a cemetery. But in these graves, this is where they laid bodies, and they were laid there for a very long time. And it just gives you a picture of the landscape. I mean, there are holes in sides of mountains all over the place in this region, especially around Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a city on a hill. It's hill country. Jesus went to the cave with a stone laid across the entrance, and he tells them, take away the stone. Take away the stone. This isn't customary, funeral stuff. This would be kind of like us saying, raise the casket up, exhume the body. We want to have access, or Jesus says, I want to have access to Lazarus. But look what Martha says. Martha says, she says what's on everybody else's mind. But Lord, Martha said, the sister of the dead man, by this time there is a bad odor, for he's been there 4 days. All right. Do you hear the objection? I mean, she says, Lord, this isn't a good idea. And it identifies her. The story is precious to me because it identifies her not as Lazarus' sister right now. It identifies her as the sister of the dead man. All right. His identity has completely changed. He's no longer Lazarus, Jesus's friend. He's the dead guy. Martha's no longer the person Jesus mourned with. She's the sister of the dead person. That's what tragedy does. Tragedy seeks to define us, to limit us, to conscript us only to the present pain that we experience. But Jesus has so much more for us. Jesus has more for us than what this world can throw at us. Jesus has more for us than the labels that can be attached to us because of tragedy, because of sin. Martha objects. There's going to be a bad odor. This is going to be a bad experience. She's not expecting Jesus to do anything. She believes who Jesus is, but her mind cannot process what he's about to do because she's never seen it before. No one's ever experienced it. It's not something that would have entered into their wildest imagination. Jesus said in verse 40, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" You know, it's kind of hard to argue with Jesus when he's talking about the glory of God, you know, about to show up. It's kind of hard to argue with Jesus when he says, "I am the resurrection and the life. He who lives and believes in me will never die." And he who, let me go back and read what verse 25 says. "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die." Do you believe this? He's challenging Martha on what she actually believes. You know, is it just head knowledge or is it heart conviction? Because if it's heart conviction, you'll have that stone moved away. You'll have that stone moved and you're going to see something that only God can do. "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you'll see the glory of God?" So in verse 41, so they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up to the Father, looked up and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." Okay, now this is interesting. This is a prayer that Jesus prays to the Father, to the Heavenly Father, prays for the purpose of those who are around him, that they might overhear it, that they might know that there is a connection, a powerful connection between Jesus and God. And God's going to work through him because in Jesus we find the fullness of the Godhead bodily. And God is about to do something in this story that no one's going to believe if they hadn't have been there, if they hadn't have seen it with their own eyes. So this goes along with the purpose of the entirety of the book of John. Jesus is praying this right before he raises Lazarus. You already knew that was going to happen. He prays this out loud for the benefit of those who were in his hearing so that they might believe that he is the one that God sent. But that's the whole purpose of the book of John. The gospel, and the gospel means good news. It's always good news about what God has done for us, and he's done it all through the person of Jesus Christ. In John 20, I'm skipping ahead a few chapters, a lot of chapters actually, but it tells us, excuse me, let me take a libation from my Seaport mug before I read this great passage. In John 20, verse 30 and 31, verses 30 and 31, it gives the purpose of the entire book. It says, "Jesus performed many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name." Jesus is praying that those who would hear him and witness this miracle that he's about to perform would have life in his name. He came as the resurrection and the life so that they too could share in his life, his conquering of death, his eternal reward. So Jesus prays this in verse 43. Check it out. When he said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. This perfectly describes the death apparel, for lack of better words, that anyone would have been laid in their death chamber, death tomb, death cave, their sepulcher. Uh, this is a perfect description of what it would have looked like as Jesus called Lazarus up from the grave. And I've heard it said other places before, and I'll say it again because it's just good stuff. Jesus had to say, Lazarus, rise up, Lazarus, come out, because if he had just said, come out, that cemetery would have emptied itself of everyone there. Lazarus only was the benefactor of this specific resurrection. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. So Jesus called out Lazarus. He performed this miracle as a preview of what was to come. I mean, this was something that he was setting the stage for his own resurrection through. The dead man came out. You know, this is beautiful. He was wrapped in the death shroud, had his hands and feet bound, had the cloth upon his face. Those that were with him had to attend to him and take off all that death, all those accoutrements that went with perishing, because he was now living. He was raised by Christ, by grace, by the power of God. And Jesus says at the end of verse 43, Jesus said to them, take off the grave clothes, let him go. That's a powerful reminder to us. We've been set free. Why would we allow ourselves to become re-entangled with sin's accoutrements? Why would we hinder our walk with the things that we left behind when we started to participate in the life of God, when we were saved by grace through faith? Why would we go back to those death clothes? Let's leave those things behind and go forward with the kind of life that honors God and is good for us. That's our goal. Now listen, I told you Thursday that not everybody reacted positively to this. Can you believe it? It's written here. It says, therefore, many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary and had seen what Jesus did believed in him. See, this is the positive part. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. They might not have been, tattletelling. I think they might have been bragging about what Jesus had done. Then the chief priest and the Pharisees called a meeting of the Sanhedrin. What are we accomplishing? They asked. Here is this man performing many signs. If we let him go like this, everyone will believe in him. To me, that's not a bad thing. But if you weren't there and if you're not for Jesus, you don't want everyone believing in him. And then the Romans will come and take away both our temple and our nation, which, they're just looking for an excuse to have Jesus executed. Okay. This is how God was orchestrating the events of history, the events of sacred history, so that you and I might find salvation in the death, burial, resurrection of Jesus Christ. It says, then one of them, named Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, spoke up, you know nothing at all. You do not realize that it's better for you that one man die for the people than the whole nation perish. He did not say this on his own, but as high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the Jewish nation, and not only for that nation, but also for the scattered children of God, to bring them together and make them one, so that so from that day they plotted to take his life. And isn't it interesting that as Jesus raises someone to life, his enemies plot and conspire to remove his life? Man, this is John just paints a picture that can only be God orchestrated. This is a God orchestrated time. Jesus doesn't succumb to the circumstances around him, God creates the environment for Jesus to offer himself freely and effectively for us as the atoning sacrifice that we need in order to be saved, to be connected to God, to realize the promises of God. This is beautiful, and I'm not giving it justice. We have a limited amount of time together, and there's a fence to be built, and I need a second cup of coffee before that fence is built. But listen, I'm glad that you've spent a little time with us today. Let's be inspired by Jesus. Let's leave those death clothes where they lay and not return to them. And let's always, because we've experienced the resurrection, let's give a good witness to those who might be looking and longing for that which God offers to us, which we have been such great recipients of. And let's use everything God has given us to his glory and to our good. God bless you all this morning. I hope you have a great Saturday. Look forward to hanging out with you tomorrow morning, 10:15 First Baptist, 10 Channel 10 at 10 o'clock on television. And of course, we'll be on Facebook, Facebook Live. Y'all have a wonderful rest of the day.